Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address the nation at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Several chief ministers had requested an extension in the lockdown during their video conference with the Prime Minister on Saturday. The final decision is awaited. Tamil Nadu and Arunachal Pradesh extend the lockdown till April 30. Maharashtra, Punjab, Odisha, Rajasthan, West Bengal and Telangana have already extended the lockdown. Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan is also in favor of an extension of the lockdown. 32 crore poor people have received financial assistance of 29,352 crore rupees under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana package. So far, 5.29 crore beneficiaries have received grains under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. About 20 crore women beneficiaries received 9,930 crore rupees on Jan Dhan Yojana. On coronavirus testing, the central government says that there are enough testing kits to last for the next 6 weeks. The union ministers, top officials start working from their offices, marking a step towards normalcy in the government's establishment. Non-essential staff not to come. The essential staff who stay near the office to attend on a rotation basis. Also, Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi appeals to Muslims to pray at home and observe social distancing during Ramzan. Supreme Court modifies its earlier order on free tests for COVID-19 by private laboratories, allows them to test at ICMR rates. Poorer people to be tested free under Pradhan Mantri Jan Aushadhi scheme. Coronavirus active cases in India increase to 8,048. 324 people have died from the virus. 979 people have been discharged after treatment. The total number of cases so far, 9,352. The battle against COVID-19 continues across the world. More than 18,64,000 cases are reported to date, and more than 1,15,000 people have succumbed to the virus. The US records more than 5.5 lakh positive cases. And in observance of social distancing, the festival of Baisakhi, Vishu, Rongali, Bihu, Odia Nabya, Veshkhadi, Putandu and Pirapu are to be celebrated with joy all over the country. President, Vice President and Prime Minister greet the nation. The Prime Minister wishes everyone a better health and a happy life in the new year. So here's our top story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the nation on Tuesday at 10 a.m. The 21-day nationwide lockdown will curb the spread of coronavirus. It ends tomorrow, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's office has made an announcement via tweet. Last month, the Prime Minister had addressed the nation twice on the 19th and the 24th of March. Arun Sharma, our correspondent who covers the Prime Minister's office, who joins us now live via Zoom. Arun, so an important address. Everyone's waiting for it, whether or not the lockdown will be extended. That's the big question. What are the factors that the Prime Minister is likely to consider?
Well, there are two possibilities, first of all. Number one, the lockdown can be extended as it is. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we have seen this fact, Mark, that there are various states who proposed it to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They suggested to Prime Minister Narendra Modi during their meeting on 11th of April with the Prime Minister that the lockdown should be extended for two more weeks. And just ahead of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address, we have seen there are many states like Punjab, Odisha, yes, Arunachal, Tamil Nadu for that matter. They have already extended their lockdown. These are from the state side. But will Prime Minister Narendra Modi only extend the lockdown as it is? Well, let me tell you one important point over here. When Prime Minister Narendra Modi met the chief ministers of various states on 11th of April, he clearly said that earlier our mantra was Jaan hai to Jahan hai. And now, or during 11th of April, he clearly said that Jaan bhi or Jahan bhi. That means focus should be on life and livelihoods as well. So the message is clear that the lockdown will be extended, that is for sure, but then there can be certain kind of, a
Revival of
concession,
economic
or kind of, relaxations going forward. So that can be an important part that Prime Minister Narendra Modi can consider. And third, I mean, that's an important part, Mark, because it is very much
Yes.
tough to speculate what Prime Minister Narendra Modi does, because he's known for his out-of-the-box ideas. There can be a third aspect as well, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi comes out with out-of-the-box idea and innovative idea as to what can be the lockdown strategy. But one thing is for sure, Mark.
Arun, yes, Arun, there have also been a number of other meetings that the Prime Minister has had via video conference. And, he even told the ministers, he had a meeting with the whole Council of Ministers. He asked each of them to come up with a strategy, to restart the economy, with a 10-point program. So he's received a number of ideas. So there are a number of things, that are likely tomorrow in that context. We also saw a number of ministers coming to work today. Are we, seeing some sort of coming back to normalcy, at least from the government's point of view?
Well, not 100%, Mark, because as we have seen that the cabinet ministers have started joining the office from today. We are seeing the secretary level, joint secretary level are also joining the office. The order clearly says that on the rotation basis, below the joint secretary level, staff will come and join the office. So that means it won't be 100% opening of the lockdown. But yes, lockdown is very much likely to be extended, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi clearly said. I mean, just read that one line, Jaan bhi or Jahan bhi. That means focus is on saving lives and also livelihoods. So that's an important part that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be considering. And remember this fact, Mark, that not only India, not only 130 crore people of our country will be watching that address. It is globally all the leaders will be watching it, because of the fact there are many countries like Singapore. They have replicated the exact lockdown kind of style which India has adopted in their respective country. That means all the global leaders and the other countries will also be watching the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's move on 14th of April. That what can be exactly the exit strategy or the lockdown extension strategy by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Right. Thanks very much for those inputs. Arun Sharma there joining us with the expectations from Prime Minister's address to the nation tomorrow. Our next story is Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as we said, is going to address the nation on Tuesday at 10 a.m. The 21-day nationwide lockdown to curb the spread of coronavirus ends tomorrow. The Prime Minister's office had made this announcement via tweet. Last month, the Prime Minister had addressed the nation twice on the 19th and the 24th of March. And the Chief Minister K. Palanisamy of Tamil Nadu has announced an extension of the lockdown in Tamil Nadu till April 30. He said the move was in accordance with the recommendations of the medical and public health experts. Palanisamy has also said he favors prolonging the curbs till the end of this month. He said that he did so at the meeting also with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday, which we highlighted and talked about a little earlier. Now, several other state chief ministers too had batted for extending these restrictions. The state cabinet of Tamil Nadu has given the green signal for the lockdown to be extended till the 30th of April as per the CRPC and also the Disaster Management Act of 2005. The extended lockdown will continue with some restrictions, with the same restrictions, in fact, of essential commodity outlets and restaurants being allowed to open from morning 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Additionally, bakeries also have been allowed to open at the same times, and restaurants, only takeaways will be allowed. Ration card holders will get rice, dal, sugar, oil and other eligible items free of cost for the month of May. The families of the unorganized workers, including construction laborers, will get cash support of 1,000 rupees each for the second time. Also, laborers will get 15 kgs of rice and a kg of tur, dal and a kg of edible oil free of cost. And in Chennai, the state government has also made arrangements to help residents avail of telemedicine services from doctors registered with the Telemedicine Society of India. Now, in Arunachal Pradesh too, they have extended the lockdown till the 30th of April with a few exceptions. The decision was taken at a cabinet meeting chaired by the Chief Minister Pema Khandu in Itanagar today.
Lockdown will be continued in the state of Arunachal Pradesh till 30th of April 2020. So idea is that because this entire situation in the country as well as globally is becoming a very organic. So therefore, we cannot take a very long duration decision at this stage. So the cabinet has taken a decision that this lockdown period in the state of Arunachal Pradesh will continue for another till 30th of April, and around that 30th of April, we'll take a further decision ki how we are going to control the activities in the state.
And Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan has also supported an extension of the lockdown. Let's listen to what he has to say.
सभी मुख्यमंत्रियों ने माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से परसों निवेदन किया था, जब उन्होंने वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग के जरिए मुख्यमंत्रियों से संवाद किया था। सब एकजुट है, एक मत है कि ये लड़ाई प्रधानमंत्री श्रीमान नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में लड़ी जा रही है। बहुत प्रभावी ढंग से सारा देश उनके पीछे है। हम मिलकर इस लड़ाई को लड़ें, और सभी का सुझाव ये था कि लॉकडाउन 14 को समाप्त ना किया जाए, बढ़ाया जाए। ये आग्रह माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से हम लोगों ने किया है। कल माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी जब देश को संबोधित करेंगे तो लॉकडाउन की पूरी रणनीति जनता के सामने रखेंगे।
So union ministers, top officials have started working from their office, marking a step towards normalcy, as we said, in government establishment. But non-essential staff are not to come. The essential staff who stay nearby the office will attend the office on a rotation basis. Let's look at this report.
Several union ministers and senior officers returned to their offices on Monday, 2 days after a directive that all government officials who are entitled to official vehicles should return to work. A meeting called by Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Prasar Bharati was attended by the Secretary and the Joint Secretary. Speaking at the meeting, the minister said that the media professionals are frontline warriors just like doctors and police personnel. He urged media personnel to fact-check information to maintain public interest. He also appealed to wear masks at work.
मीडिया के कर्मी जो है वो भी एक तरह से फ्रंट लाइन काम करते हैं, क्योंकि लोगों तक खबर पहुंचाना उनका काम है, उसके लिए जगह जगह जाते हैं। तो मेरा पहला आज यही रहेगा कि आप अपना ख्याल करिए, मास्क पहनकर ही बोलना चाहिए। जैसे मैं मीटिंगों में मास्क पहनकर ही बैठता हूं।
Telecom Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad also resumed his work. He mentioned that Arogya Setu is an important application that can prove effective in protecting against coronavirus. He urged people to download the app on mobile.
उसके माध्यम से आपके स्वास्थ्य की स्थिति, अगर सब कुछ ठीक है तो ग्रीन रहेगा। अगर किसी ऐसे व्यक्ति के संपर्क में आते हैं जो इससे अफेक्टेड है या अफेक्टेड होने वाला है, तो वो येलो होगा या रेड होगा, और बाकी कई उसमें बहुत ही सुविधाएं उपलब्ध हैं।
Union Youth Affairs and Sports Minister Kiran Rijiju also joined back office. All the guidelines regarding COVID-19 were followed and only senior officials and minimum required staff resumed operations in the office.
बहुत ही ज़रूरी वाला स्टाफ और सीनियर लेवल ऑफिसर्स उसके साथ में हम लोग ऑफिस को चला रहे हैं, और 9:30 सुबह से हम लोग ऑफिस चलाने का जो पहले पुराना सिस्टम है वही करेंगे।
Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi also took his first meeting upon rejoining office. Secretary, Joint Secretaries of Ministry of Minority Affairs attended the meeting. The minister reviewed various scholarships, skill development schemes and other development programs.
आज से हम लोगों ने मंत्रालय में अधिकारियों के साथ बैठक शुरू कर दी है, कामकाज शुरू कर दिया है, और सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग का ध्यान में रखते हुए साथ ही साथ जो है वो और भी जो दिशा निर्देश हैं उसका ध्यान में रखते हुए हम लोग कामकाज हम लोगों ने शुरू किया है।
Apart from this, Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, Skill Development Minister Mahendra Nath Pandey and Jitendra Singh, Minister of State, PMO and Ministry of Development of North Eastern Region resumed office work. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Now, as far as the latest figures released by the Health Ministry are concerned, there are a total of 9,352 positive cases, of which 8,048 are active cases. There are 979 people who've been discharged after a full recovery. The number of deaths in the country stands at 324. 25 districts across 15 states, which had reported cases earlier, have not detected any new cases in the last 14 days.
डेवलपमेंट फील्ड स्थाई पर जो हमारा जिला एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, जो हमारे फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर्स काम कर रहे हैं, उसके रिजल्ट दिखने भी लगे हैं। आज अगर हम देखें तो 15 राज्यों में 25 जिलों में, उसमें पिछले 14 दिन से, जबकि वहां पर इससे पहले कि पॉजिटिव केसेस आए थे, तो पिछले 14 दिनों से कोई भी पॉजिटिव केसेस रिकॉर्ड नहीं हुए हैं। इन जिलों में जब पॉजिटिव केस आया तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने कंटेनमेंट स्ट्रैटेजीज के तहत काम किया और जिसके रिजल्ट फलस्वरूप हमें कुछ दिखने भी लगे हैं। लेकिन आज फिर भी यह ज़रूरत है कि हम अपनी विजिलेंस कंटिन्यूड उसी विगर, उसी एनर्जी के साथ बनाए रखें। हम यह सुनिश्चित करें कि आने वाले दिनों में भी इन जिलों में कोई नया केस ना आए।
And in the daily briefing of the Ministry of Home Affairs as well, they have made it clear that there is no restriction on the movement of trucks carrying essential goods in the country. As far as testing is concerned, the Indian Council on Medical Research in its briefing has said that so far 2.06 lakh tests have been done, of which nearly 2 lakh have been negative. People have come forward to help in the fight against COVID-19 with more than 50,000 volunteers so far. 9,903 crore rupees have been transferred to beneficiaries of the Jan Dhan Yojana. The government has ensured that both life and livelihoods are being provided for. Mass production of masks along with domestic manufacture of personal protective equipment kits has been ramped up, and 3.5 crore people have downloaded the Arogya Setu app till now. So some of the factors that would be considered while, the Prime Minister is likely to make this decision tomorrow in his speech. Let's see what some of the factors are likely to be considered. They're coming up on our screen as we speak. Now, the one most important would be whether the hospital capacity has been sufficiently enhanced to deal with potential rising number of cases across the country. Now, that would be one of the most important things before the lockdown is relaxed. So right now, the dedicated beds far exceed the number of patients that we know. That's because we've had a lockdown. So several COVID dedicated hospitals have been created. That's also been done in the period of time of this lockdown. COVID wards in most major hospitals have already been created. Even the Indian Railways has made some coaches available as isolation wards just in case it's necessary. So we can see that the capacity and the number of ventilators too have been ramped up. So as far as the capacity is concerned, we are well ahead of the curve right now. But whether the virus is transmitting despite the onset of the summer, this is an important consideration, that because there's a lot of people talk about this, but there's not enough evidence as yet, and proper evidence is still being gathered. However, we may, over a period of time, we may feel that during the summer months, viruses find it difficult to transmit. This may be the case with COVID-19 as well. There's not enough evidence to suggest that. How long can the economy be in lockdown without any serious damage to livelihoods of the unorganized sector? That's a very crucial question. Can a part of the workforce restart work? If so, which part? These are very important questions. But we also know that during this period of time, several temporary shelter homes have been created. Meals, we know, are being provided to the homeless. Rupees 9,903 crore rupees have been transferred to Jan Dhan beneficiaries. There's no restriction on trucks carrying essential goods. So basically, the economy is being kept alive to some extent. People are being looked after during this difficult period. But, livelihoods will have to be considered once again, and relaxations may need to be removed at some point of time. This is a very crucial question. How dangerous is the virus is the next important question, because at the end of the day, what are we protecting ourselves against? So far, we know that more than 2 lakh tests have been done, but we know that almost 2 lakh of the tests have been negative. But why is that so? That's only because of the lockdown. The lockdown has been successful as a result. But we know that 9,352 cases have come out positive, and that could easily increase very fast. So those factors also have to be considered. And around 8,000 cases are active. They are all in isolation, being looked after. And 324 people have succumbed. They've died because of this virus. So this is what has happened. But the general perception is that about 80% of all active cases are mild. All across the world, in fact, 80% of all active cases are mild, and people will recover from them, and they will generate some sort of immunity to the virus. So the number of discharged people so far who have this immunity, we can say, are 979 in our country. And that brings us to the idea of immunity, because that's one way of fighting the virus, just to develop herd immunity. And that happens only when once the number of recovered people becomes so sizable that they represent a large cross-section of society, and the threat perception of the virus can then be downgraded. So that basically is what we're going to be discussing with our guests in the studio. Let me introduce you to them. We have with us Dr. Tanmay Talukdar, who is from the Lady Hardinge College of Medical College, and he's a pulmonologist. And we have Dr. Sachin Chaturvedi, as an economist, Director General of Research and Information Systems for Developing Countries. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us. Dr. Talukdar, so I was talking about how dangerous is the virus. Now, that would be on people's minds. We are seeing that, across the world, people were not saying that the virus was dangerous to start with. They were saying that it was spreading very fast. And that's true. It was spreading fast, and we've curtailed the spreading by this lockdown. What happens, if the lockdown is relaxed? Will that spread continue to be quite fast?
Yes, lockdown has definitely brought down the rate of spread of infection,
yes.
What we call the chain of transmission of infection. And it's very simple to find out. If we compare certain countries in the West, for example, the European countries and US, the very numbers would tell us how things have panned out. For example, in India, we just have more than 9,000 confirmed cases compared to US, which is 5.5 lakhs at the moment. And not just this confirmed cases, the number of deaths are wide, there's a big gap out there. And more importantly, we are performing quite well, as was told in your program already, that we have over 25 districts which have not reported any cases after having had cases of COVID-19 for last 14 days. So some of these things are definitely telling us that lockdown is working. What it is actually doing is bringing down the peak of spread of infection. It is plateauing out, and definitely we are succeeding in doing that. So more importantly, the healthcare professionals are getting motivated further, especially the frontline workers. Because of the lockdown, it giving us that motivation to work even harder, because it is they who are out there doing contact tracing, doing surveillance, providing treatment at the grassroots level. They are getting motivated not just by the people's participation in the lockdown, because it has been fabulous participation by almost all people all around, all across the board, who have been supporting the lockdown in a big way. And that could be reflected by what our Honorable Prime Minister had asked for, be it the clap which we did for the entire frontline workers, or the lighting of the lamp. In both these events, there was a lot of participation of the people. So lockdown has not only motivated all of the healthcare or the frontline workers, but has also been successful in bringing down this rate of transmission of infection.
Yes, but Dr. Chaturvedi, that of course is it all has to be balanced out. We know that the lockdown has been extremely successful in terms of saving lives, containing the spread of the infection, but it's also given the economy a serious blow, hasn't it? And that we have to recover from. So now the economists have to use their minds and to see how we can kickstart the economy, or restart it in some ways, so that especially since a lot of livelihoods depend on an economy that's running, that can be run even in a partially lockdown mode. So what do you suggest?
That's right, Mark. If you look at the larger challenges that we have, they come in more in terms of generating resources, providing traction, and there are a lot of people, as Prime Minister said right in his first address, where livelihood security is threatened. And once it is threatened, then you need to see how the resources are provided. The Finance Minister announced of the package, the Pradhan Mantri, the poverty, people below poverty line, and those who were adversely affected because of the migration that happened. I think you require resources to share that social security with them, to provide them a sense of protection, providing them the basic amenities that are needed, and of course the food that is needed. So for all that, government requires resources, and of course the business has to multiply to contribute to, and at this point not the question of prosperity, but to bring back the supply chain that have all got disrupted because of logistics failure, because of a number of things. But thanks to our ability to still run railways and look at the amount of traffic that could be managed through the railways, and we could see, and in one of your reports earlier, it was shown how much has already been delivered with this. So I think we need to understand that economy also has to contribute, and particularly the rural areas where crops are ready and they have to come to the market. Prime Minister has given the assurance to states and have encouraged them to give concession on APMC and allow other channels for farmers to market their produce. But it is important.
Dr. Chaturvedi, I mean, I would put it to you that the solution for anything has to come from the economic activities, because, you know, as Adam Smith had said, that it's the invisible hand that basically that contributes to
I would
economic
prefer to go to Keynes, actually.
Yeah, so I mean, no, but that's true. That's probably in the macroeconomic concept. But, you know, even a solution to a problem, a solution has to come from within, from economic activity. If you've shut down economic activity, we cannot hope for a solution, isn't it?
That's right.
There's absolutely going to be no chance of it. So what would you think about that? We have to start somewhere or the other, because otherwise there's going to be the only economic activity. Otherwise, we'd have to say all that the doctors are doing is the only economic activity that is worthwhile at the current time.
Actually, doctors also require support in terms of supply of medical equipment, supply of hand sanitizers, supply of masks, which would come from industries that are associated with the pharmaceutical sector. So I think economic activities we would have to bring back on the table, and the supply chains would have to be restored, and there are several associated activities.
Dr. Talukdar, you know, what kind of industries can start with, let's say, a higher level of protection from people through social distancing, through perhaps, you know, like we've seen some of the government sectors now beginning to work, but maintaining very strict guidelines. You know, even in our office, those of us who are working, we have to come in. First, we are tested for our temperature beforehand. We are asked to wash our hands or to sanitize them at the door itself. You know, if these kind of restrictions are put in place, it'll be pretty easy to prevent the spread of the virus, isn't it?
Definitely. Whenever the industries start, or whatever the industries which are permitted to start, the rule of prevention of infection, which has been told again and again, has to be continued. The social distancing rules will have to be followed, because I would again insist that the war, we are doing good, but then it is far, far from being over against corona or COVID-19.
Absolutely.
So definitely the social distancing has to be maintained, hand hygiene has to be maintained, the etiquettes which we have been telling, the hygiene etiquettes, the cough etiquette, they are imperative. We have to be very careful about it, because any slackness on part of anybody can take us down again. The plateau, we may start losing it again. So that is one important thing which is we have to take care of. The second thing which you suggested us is that what industries can work in that as far as healthcare is concerned, the PPE, the personal protective equipment, the ventilators, the medical equipment industry, definitely we are already ready with it. The numbers are coming up in leaps and bounds. The sanitizers have to be there, and they are there. So these industries can definitely help healthcare professionals and others as well.